Hi everyone. Today I would like you to meet my friend, Chaos Follower Saber. He is a Chaos weapon, and I have 30/30 in Faith, so he does quite a bit of damage, but it's reasonable damage. 479 AR on a curved sword is not totally unreasonable. Chaos is kind of borked, but like, it's a reasonable amount of damage for a Chaos weapon, so we should love and care for Chaos Follower Saber.
And I'm Bad Boy Follower Saber. Black Flame buffed Follower Saber. I have 624 fucking AR on a curved sword. It is absurd. I do like 350 damage per R1 just by being in the same room as this oversized dog. He killed himself and now he wants to die. You can see the blood spurting out of his corpse. I'm evil and dark.
But like, I'm still a buff build. So just to try and illustrate my big problem with buff builds, I asked Derpy Turtle to come and fight my 624 AR Follower Saber. Obviously this is not an intended weapon by the developers, it is only accessible through a glitch. You can find out how to do it if you look on YouTube hard enough. And I basically asked Derpy, don't actually fight me, just do your absolute best to run away from me and just try not to get hit, because that is the correct counter pick against a weapon as ridiculous as a Black Flame buffed Follower Saber. Why would you ever fight a limited time 624 AR Follower Saber when you could just run away for a little bit? And then all of a sudden, it will be doing much more reasonable damage. And unfortunately, that's kind of the correct counter pick to every single buff build. Buff builds in general, they have to be aggressive, because the only time when they do good damage is when the buff is active. And if you think it's hard to be aggressive against a single player in this game, imagine the difficulty of being aggressive against 4 dudes at once, with an ultra great sword. It's not the easiest thing in the world. So the other build I decided to actually run for the rest of this video is 60 Faith, or rather 59 Faith, because I needed a little more points a few more points in Vitality. 59 Faith, lightning buffed Lothric Knight Ultra Great Sword, which obviously benefits from the inherent split damage of the Lothric Knight Ultra Great Sword, and stacking Lightning Blade on top of that makes it do ridiculous damage. So the fact is that with a buff build, either people are just going to wait out your buff, or you are going to play very aggressively and kill people very, very fast, or you are going to play very aggressively and die very, very fast. It's typically one of the two with very little in between, unfortunately. A really good example of this is Ouroboros DMB Sellswords. If you want to go watch Ouroboro L1, L2, L1 at Fools for 40 minutes with Darkmoon Blades buffed sellswords pre-nerf, videos are still on his page. You can go watch them even now. And the entire premise of that build was that Oro could run in and just obliterate a phantom. Never go for this move. It's dumb. Don't do it. It's stylish, but it's not worth it. And either he would just obliterate phantoms in one combo, out-punishing their Estus by like double if they did chug, or he would die instantly to 4 dudes. He optimized for damage over survivability, and essentially spent all of his time trying to just survive. Also, if you're gonna wear Lap Cathedral, man, get that Shield of Want off your back and stop ganking. You're making the rest of us look bad. God damn, what the hell. So anyway, yeah, so Oro's DMB Sellswords build was a build that entirely emphasized the ability to kill people very, very quickly, with very little focus on survivability. And unfortunately, that's not really the way you want to play it in DS3 Invasions, because if people just play passively enough, you're just going to die to the blender. It's an unfortunate truth as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that's the big issue with buff builds in DS3. They are essentially hard countered by passivity. Anyone who is playing optimally will just reaction roll you forever if they can. if they have good enough reaction times. And then eventually you'll be left with a 24 strength Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword with no buff at level 133, and you will be doing severely mediocre damage for that level. Heavy infusions don't get a lot of damage with 24 strength. I don't know if you've heard this. And without Lightning Blade, you will lose a whole lot of AR that you really need to get through flat defenses. One thing that you can do to mitigate that, a daily reminder to pivot stab and point down at all Aldrich turncoats, not all Aldrich co-invaders, just the turncoats, is keep 2 versions of the weapon you're using. So in this clip, whenever I don't have time to buff, or whenever my buff runs out and I don't have time to rebuff, then I will swap to a lightning-infused Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword. I have since learned that Blessed is just a much better infusion than Lightning for a Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword. I kind of figured that Lightning would get more damage in exchange for not having passive regen, but nope, Blessed gets more AR and has passive regen. It's just a better infusion on a Faith build Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword. So anyway, use that. It does a lot of damage. It's a very good weapon. But anyway, I did not know that at the time, so I ran a Lightning Lothric Knight Ultra Greatsword. But at the end of the day, even if your buff runs out and you swap to an elementally infused version of your weapon, you've still got, you know, soft capped Faith or Intelligence and more damage on top of that. 59 Faith obviously still hits the soft cap of 40. 60 Intelligence still obviously hits the soft cap of 40. You're just going to be doing more than soft cap damage, which is not an efficient way to get damage, but it's not going to be bad damage by any means. One thing that I hope didn't come across in my last video was me saying that the only builds that you could win with at meta level are Dark and Quality. I think that those 2 builds are the most optimal in that they will give you the best invasion win rate. But there's nothing to say that, you know, a Faith build or a Dex build will never make it so that you can never win at 133. Builds to some degree dictate your invasion win rate simply because no one plays perfectly. Don't go for this move ever. It will get punished hard. Builds to some degree dictate your invasion win rate simply because if you're running a better build than your opponent who is equally skilled, then you will win more with a better build than they will with a worse one. True, sometimes you'll win invasions against solo hosts that you really don't deserve to win. They might outplay you 9 steps out of 10, and then you outplay them once and they're dead on the floor. But at the same time, having a really good build also might make it so that when you outplay a gank squad 9 steps out of 10, but just can't finish people off with a weaker build, a stronger build will allow you to do so. So in that sense, every single build in DS3 is some level of crutch. If you were really good, if you were perfect, I guess, you could probably win with literally anything. But good builds cover up playstyle weaknesses and flaws in our own personal skills, I guess what I'm trying to say. So when I run a really optimal build at 133, it's not because I can't win ever with other builds. It's more because I just think I will win more with the one I'm running. And I have more fun when I win more. Winning is not everything. I've had fun fights where I've lost. I've had unfun fights where I've won. But what's that saying as far as money buying you happiness? Money doesn't buy you happiness, but you'd still rather be crying in a Ferrari than on a bicycle. I guess my personal adaptation of that as far as DS3 goes is winning might not be all that matters in terms of having fun, but regardless of whether you're having fun or not, it's probably more fun to win while doing it. You can have fun without winning, but winning also is fun in general. No one likes losing in general, I would say. No one goes out in DS3 and is like, yeah, I'm going to lose so much today, it's going to be tons of fun. Anyway, also, if someone is blocking your weapon, like this guy is sometimes, keep swinging. I'm just dumb and can't hit confirm because we have slight latency. But they will be forced to block 2 swings, and then you can guard break them and riposte them for 1,000,000 damage. Another Lap Cathedral Intellectual shows up, and then we will... I decided to go help the purple because I have less faith in the purple than I do in a person wearing Lap Cathedral. And it works out pretty well. Final note on this build is, if you're going to cast Lightning Blade on a buff build, don't use Fillionaires Chime. I swapped to Yorshka's last night, and it gave me like 40 extra AR. It was kind of ridiculous. So, if you're going to do a buff build at 59 or 60 faith, use Yorshka's, or I guess, yeah. Anyway, Lap Cathedral Intellectual. Turns out I had faith in them for good reason. And finally, let's talk about the sunk cost fallacy, which, if you're not familiar with it, things are only worth how much you can get out of them in the future. They are not worth how much you've invested into them. So even though you've built your build around having 60 in faith and buffing your weapon, you should still be comfortable with swapping off of your buffed weapon if you feel like at that moment you will be better served by not having, or by having a different weapon that is unbuffed. So in this case, I'm not going to do a chase down with an ultra great sword against the solo host who is either surviving or ganking, and either way I don't really care, I'm going to gank them back. I'm going to swap to Lightning, Bident, and Hand Axe, because that is a better option, and even if I had cast my buff, I would be better served by a spear and a hand axe than I would be by an ultra great sword for chase downs. So, that's my little rant on the sunk cost fallacy. Don't be afraid to switch off your buffed weapon. Anyway, hopefully this is interesting and helpful and not too rambly. I feel like I went kind of off the chain this video. Maybe I left it too long in terms of footage. Anyway, keep it silly, y'all. Hopefully this is helpful. And Silly Dog out.